Mom, let's not do this tonight. Her mother waves a dismissive hand. I'm just saying, a man should lead, shouldn't he? Make sure his wife doesn't have to carry it all. Mom, that's enough, Amara snaps, raising her hand in warning. Her mother scoffs, shaking her head. Naya has grown up watching her mother excel while her father bounces between penny and hour jobs. What kind of example is that for my granddaughter? Amara, please, keep it down. No, I am unhappy, angry, and frustrated. Am I alone in this? Where are your emotions? Where is your heart? My heart is with you. It's been with you for years. I don't feel it, Jared. I haven't felt you in a long time, Amara cried. I am here, Amara. Jared reached for her, but she swatted his hand away. Jared tightened his jaw. What was that? He asked, his face turning red. I don't want you to touch me right now. She backed up. She was beside herself with emotion. One moment you're screaming. You don't feel me. Then I reach for you, and you push me away. I can do no right with you. Amara wakes up to the faint hum of the ceiling fan. She lies in bed beside their 14-year-old daughter, who is still sound asleep. The bed feels cramped, the air heavy with the weight of the tension between her and Jared. She glances over at her daughter's peaceful face. Then she shifts her gaze to the ceiling, tracing the cracks in the paint. The silence of the house settles around her, thick with all the unspoken words hanging between them. Jared's footsteps echo down the hall as he passes by the room and heads to their bedroom. He enters the room with a cup of coffee, a feeble attempt at routine. He smiles, but it doesn't reach his eyes. Morning, he offers. His voice carries a hope that Amara refuses to acknowledge. She nods, forcing a polite acknowledgement, but doesn't take the coffee. Jared lingers, waiting, but the silence that follows says more than words could. Finally, he turns away, carrying the coffee back with him and a bitter taste settling in his chest. Amara forces herself up, letting her legs hang off the end of the twin bed. She rubs her temples aggressively, trying to ward off the headache that had returned from last night's tense conversation with Jared. Nye, get up. You're going to be late for school, babe, Amara said, rubbing Naya's back to help her wake up. Naya, who was still partially asleep, turned to face her mom. Gotcha, she said, rubbing her eyes, her manicured nails pulling at a loose lash hanging freely. Did you have a ride? Amara asked, hoping she didn't have to drive her herself. Dad didn't tell you? He's taking me today because he wants to talk. He's so awkward, Mom. Amara snickered in response to her daughter's claims. Naya was right, but as his co-parent, she knew she had to remain half of his united front. So she concealed her amusement the best she could. Don't talk about your dad like that, Naya. He is trying. Then why are you still sleeping in here with me? It's too complicated for a 14-year-old to understand. I do have a couple of friends with boyfriends. I see this all the time. Once the fighting starts, it always leads to a breakup. Not really that complicated. Naya, please, Amara pleaded as she rubbed her temples again. Just thinking about it sent her head ringing. I just want to see you happy, Mom. You've been crying yourself to sleep every night. Dad's coming in here with cold-ass coffee just to find reasons to talk to you. Things are so weird around here. Naya, Amara snapped. Just get ready for school, please. Naya paused and looked at her mom with a hurt expression. She and Amara had always been able to talk about anything, but Amara had been living in denial lately, so there was no way she could discuss it with Naya, not until she faced the truth herself. Once Naya had processed her mom's frustration, she snatched the covers off and ran into her bathroom, slamming the door behind her and starting her shower. Once it was time for Jared to take Naya to school, he stopped at the door and looked Amara in the eyes. I love you, he stated as he did every morning for the last 19 years. He wanted her to say it back, but for the last 2 years, she hadn't. She just shook her head, tucked her lips, and replied, Noted. He reached to brush a piece of hair out of her face, rubbed her cheek, and walked away with a defeated look on his face. Time for Amara to head to work. For the third time that week, she was late. Thank God she was upper management. She went through her workload quickly so no one would notice she hadn't arrived on time. She walked around the office, checking on her team and socializing. Work was always so easy. It felt like a break from the dysfunction and tension that awaited her at home. As always, the workday breezed by effortlessly. Amara began packing her belongings to prepare for her return home. Her day went so well that she forgot about the dinner her mom invited herself to. Her mom refused to let her forget, calling her just as she got ready to leave the office, reminding her about the dinner they planned for that night. She started feeling the stress of her mom's unsolicited opinion creep into her head, and just like that, her mood was shot. But she went and grabbed dinner, picked up Naya from school, and headed home to prepare for the night. The laughter of Amara's family echoed through the living room. Once the pleasant conversation fades, her mother's sharp tongue finds its moment, as it always does. Jared, you still working on those projects of yours? Must be nice, she remarks, her words laced with sarcasm as she twirls the wine in her glass. Jared swallows hard, keeping his eyes on his plate. He doesn't flinch, doesn't argue, he just sits there. Amara watches him, waiting for him to defend himself, for him to defend them. But he doesn't. He shifts in his seat, that same old habit of discomfort, and she feels the familiar sting of disappointment settle deep in her chest. She exhaled, setting down her wine glass with careful precision. Mom, let's not do this tonight. Her mother waves a dismissive hand. I'm just saying, a man should lead, shouldn't he? Make sure his wife doesn't have to carry it all. Mom, that's enough, Amara snaps, raising her hand in warning. Her mother scoffs, shaking her head. Naya has grown up watching her mother excel while her father bounces between penny and hour jobs. What kind of example is that for my granddaughter? Jared stares at the table, his fingers gripping the edge of his plate. The words sit there, unchallenged, digging into his skin. Maybe your marriage wouldn't be falling apart if you actually supported the women in your home, she presses. For a split second, his face hardens, his jaw clenches like he might actually say something, do something. But he catches himself. He exhales through his nose, presses his lips together, and picks up his fork. Takes a bite of his food, chews, swallows, like nothing happened. Naya, who has been silent up until now, quickly jumps in. Grandma, come look at the songs I wrote in music class. She tugs at her grandmother's hand, guiding her away, dissolving the tension with forced enthusiasm. Amara leans against the sink, watching Jared as he absently pokes at his plate. God, Jared. Her voice is quiet, but sharp. Don't you have any fight left in you? He exhales, rubbing his temples, exhausted beyond words. I know she had a lot to drink, he says, waving it off like a pesky mosquito. I used to love that about you. I used to think it was patient, but she shakes her head, disgust flashing in her eyes. Be a man for once, Jared. She was talking about our family. Speak up, Amara admits, voice thick with disappointment. Jared just sits there, still, quiet. Inside, though, he's furious. He can feel it clawing at his ribs, tightening his throat, demanding to be let out. But instead, he lets the words sit between them, unchallenged. Amara's stomach tightened, and yet another thread loosened. During her lunch break at work, Amara listens to her colleague recount her recent divorce, a story of rediscovered freedom and self-worth. Best decision I ever made, the woman laughs, swirling her coffee. I thought I'd be lost without him, but it turns out I was already lost with him. Leaving was just me finding my way back. Amara thought back to Naya's words to her. I just want to see you happy, Mom. This pushes her to talk to her coworker about her decision. How did you know it was over? She asked hesitantly. Honestly, there were many signs, but my final decision was made after my children started being home less because of the tension. My unhappiness was something I could grin and bear, but seeing my children so unhappy was the last straw. Amara smiled nervously and thanked her coworker for the advice. It's not the loss that lingers with Amara, but the realization of the courage it must have taken her coworker to walk away. For the first time, she wonders if she should do the same. That night, she lies awake, staring at the ceiling again. She glances over at Naya, sleeping peacefully in the twin bed next to her. The only reason she stayed so long was to keep Naya's life as it had been. She wanted her daughter to have stability, but knowing the tension could affect her, or even her outlook on love, made her reconsider her decision to stick through this tense phase of their marriage. Jared was a good guy. He had not made any big, unforgivable mistakes. Their marriage had been exactly what she wanted up until 2 years ago, and she couldn't even understand the shift. Amara wanted more. Jared was never a passionate guy, despite his career as a writer. Their fights were damn near one-sided. Amara screamed and yelled, begging him to give her something more, but he always just sat there clueless, asking what more she needed. Amara was exhausted of trying to get Jared to show emotion. She couldn't imagine doing this for the rest of her life. At that moment, she hears Jared walk by the room. He sits at the door, staring at Amara. "Good night, honey," he says awkwardly, expecting her to reciprocate, but she just turns and faces the other side of the room. Amara's resentment was pushing her out the door more than Jared knew. Jared sits alone in his car, running his finger over an old anniversary card. The words forever and always are etched in Amara's delicate handwriting, and regret gnaws at him. He remembers the promises he made and wonders where they went wrong. He spent every night trying to pinpoint the moment it all started to unravel. There wasn't a big dramatic moment that led to the disconnect between him and his love. It felt as if they just started to drift apart gradually. First to go was the I love yous. They used to say it in the morning when waking, on the phone during the day, once they got back to the house together, while making love, and before going to bed. Times when he'd awake to Amara whispering, "I love you," in the night as she watched him sleep. It gave him such comfort and peace to hear in the still of the night. Next was the affection. He'd reach for her in the night and she coldly refused his touch. A stark shift from the loving woman who met his touch with a passionate kiss. These days, he was lucky if he could get her to look at him. Now, they don't even sleep together. Amara was sharing a room with Anaya. She said she needed space one night after making love. Jared had no idea what had led to it. He didn't want her to leave their marital bed, but if she felt she needed space, who was he to deny her of it? They never spoke unless it was about the bills or Naya. Every now and then, they would have a tense argument where Amara begged for more, but she could never be clear on what more he needed to do. "Where is the passion?" she would ask, tears in her eyes, and he would always reply, "Babe, I love you so much. I just want you to be happy again." Which only led to her crying more. He was exhausted and just wanted to know how to get back to when they were happy. These days, it felt like he could do no right for Amara, Naya, or Amara's crazy mother. He picks up his phone to call her, but stops short. What could he say that would undo years of distance? He chooses to scroll old photos instead. A young Amara laughing in the sun. Her smile used to be so easy, so free. When did it change? When did she change? With a sigh, he tucks the card back into his glove compartment box. But the thought lingers. Maybe it's not too late. Maybe he can still fix it. "I can't do this anymore." Amara's voice trembles, but her resolve stands firm. She doesn't look away this time. She needs him to see her. Jared pleads, his voice cracking under the weight of desperation. He lists every reason why they should try again, but Amara's heart remains unmoved. "I wanted a partner, Jared. Someone who shows up. I feel like you're a shell of the man I thought I was marrying. Keep your voice down. Naya is in the other room. Amara chuckled out of frustration as she rubbed her forehead. That headache was returning. Jared never wanted to argue, fight, or even bicker. Naya was an excuse he pulled from his ass whenever he realized it was going to get heated. Jared, this is what couples do. They argue, yell, and express their frustrations out loud. It's how resolve is reached. Amara, please, keep it down. No, I am unhappy, angry, and frustrated. Am I alone in this? Where are your emotions? Where is your heart? My heart is with you. It's been with you for years. I don't feel it, Jared. I haven't felt you in a long time. Amara cried. I am here, Amara. Jared reached for her, but she swatted his hand away. Jared tightened his jaw. What was that? He asked, his face turning red. I don't want you to touch me right now. She backed up. She was beside herself with emotion. One moment you're screaming. You don't feel me. Then I reach for you, and you push me away. I can do no right with you, he said calmly, but his anger was ever present. Amara stood still. She wasn't used to seeing him like this. It's like you hate me for no apparent reason. You ask and I give, but I cannot give you happiness, Amara. You have to do that for yourself. I never asked for anything other than what I am owed as the woman you say you love. Then act like the woman I fell in love with. He screamed at the top of his lungs, releasing years of anger and frustration. It felt like it was always about her feelings, but he had feelings too. Oh, please, when have you ever acknowledged the love I gave? She shot back. Well, there has been nothing given to be acknowledged. Yet, and still, I bring you lunch. I say my goodnights to the wall, it seems. I offer cold coffee to the door, and you could care less. I am trying to be the man you say you want, and it seems you don't want it as bad as you exclaim. Maybe you're just not the man I want it from, she replied coldly. What does that mean? He pushed her into saying it, and dared her to. It would be the only thing that made sense. Maybe she had an affair with a man who was a better lover, more romantic, and she lost her luster for Jared. He just wanted to hear the reason, any reason, for why she hated him. He was starting to feel unworthy. This is the first time you've shown any kind of passion in years, and it's anger directed towards me. So maybe you're not capable of being the man I want because you're not the man I need. What are you trying to tell me? I am telling you that we are unraveling as if our love was a rug, and now it's just a pile of threads, worthless threads that could never be reused. Don't speak like that. I can't do this anymore, Jared. I am going to file. For the last 2 years, he watched the fire in her eyes die slowly. It was torture. The woman he loved was locked deep inside of this angry woman who refused to fight for their love. But he was losing his fight too. He yearned for her love, and in that moment, he realized it might never come back. He raised his hands and surrendered, walking back into his room, where he buried his head in his book all night. Jared stands in the doorway of their bedroom, watching Amara pack a small suitcase. His fingers tighten around the doorframe, knuckles white. Is this really it? She exhales sharply, zipping the suitcase. I need space, Jared. He steps inside, closing the distance between them. Space for what? To breathe? To think? Or to leave me? Amara's hands tremble as she grips the suitcase handle. I don't know. Bullshit. Jared's voice is raw, the mask of composure slipping. You do know. You've already decided. She swallows hard, forcing herself to meet his gaze. What do you want me to say? That I don't love you anymore? That I can't keep pretending? Jared clenches his jaw, his throat bobbing as he swallows. Then don't pretend. Fight. Stay and fight for us. Amara shakes her head. I've been fighting, Jared. I'm exhausted. A beat of silence stretches between them. Then, Jared steps closer, his voice barely above a whisper. Do you still feel anything for me? Her eyes glisten, and for a second, she hesitates. I feel? She exhales, closing her eyes, tired. Jared inhales sharply as if her words have gutted him. That's not an answer. She lifts the suitcase and moves toward the door. Jared doesn't stop her. He just watches, hands clenched at his sides. As Amara steps outside, the cool night air hits her skin. She places the suitcase in the trunk, slides into the driver's seat, and grips the wheel, willing herself not to cry. Her phone buzzes. Jared's name lights up the screen. She hesitates, then reads the message. Her face got hot, fingers trembling. She locks her phone. Then, as if drawn by an unforeseen force, she lifts her gaze to the house. Jared is standing in the doorway, silhouetted by the porch light, but it's his eyes that stop her breath. His dark, intense stare is filled with something she hadn't seen in years. A fire. The fire he had the day they met. The vulnerability of a man who craves being wanted, the need to be needed by her. A rush of memories of laughter, whispered secrets in the dark, the way he used to look at her like she was his whole world, floods her chest, stilling her resolve. Her fingers tighten around the steering wheel. She should drive away, but she can't move. Jared sat silently for a moment, then looked up. Embarrassed, helpless, and raw. Hmm, Dr. Brenda murmured thoughtfully. Why embarrassed? Amara asked, confused. I cried like a little girl in front of my wife, he said sheepishly. Excuse me, Dr. Brenda interjected. Men cry too, not just little girls. Jared, if you want your feelings to be taken seriously, you have to consider them yourself. I'm just not used to that kind of stuff. Most men aren't, Dr. Brenda acknowledged. But when they truly feel safe enough to be vulnerable, they release those same emotions you did. I've seen many grown men cry, Jared. You're not the first, and you won't be the last. Amara and Jared sat nervously in the waiting room of their new marriage counselor's office. Amara leaned against Jared's shoulder, her legs crossed, his hand resting on her knee to offer comfort. The gold clock on the neutral toned wall with deep plum colored doors ticked aggressively, each second stretching the silence between them. The front desk receptionist asked a string of questions, each one making Amara shift in her seat. Every time the office door opened, she jumped slightly, eyes darting up in anticipation. After what felt like an eternity, was actually 30 minutes, by the relentless ticking of the clock, a warm voice cut through the tension. Jared and Amara. A woman with short salt and pepper curls and an air of casual confidence stood in the doorway, smiling. I'm Dr. Brenda, she said, stepping forward with an outstretched hand. She wasted no time introducing herself, running through her credentials, experience, and approach as if she were the one being interviewed. Despite her impressive background, she had an easygoing manner, laid back, informal. Her laughter was unguarded, her jokes effortless, as if she had already figured out their dynamic before they even sat down. Once the logistics were out of the way, they were ushered into her office. The centerpiece was an oversized cream couch, impossibly plush, as if designed to swallow them whole. As they sank into it, Amara shot Jared a knowing glance. Dr. Brenda settled into her chair, legs crossed, journal in hand. She leaned forward slightly, her expression open but sharp. So, she began, eyes flicking between them. What brings you into my office? Amara exhaled, glancing at Jared before speaking. I've been really unhappy in our marriage for the last 2 years. It got so bad that I almost left. Her voice softened as she squeezed Jared's hand. But we love each other, and we want to make this work. Jared nodded, his grip tightening around hers. I just want her to be happy again, he said, a quiet but hopeful note in his voice. Dr. Brenda tilted her head. Are you happy, Jared? The question seemed to catch him off guard. His mouth opened slightly, then it closed. He looked around as if searching for the answer on the walls, but nothing came out. I need you both to know, Dr. Brenda continued, that while I'm here for you as a couple, I'm also here for you as individuals. You need to be honest with me, even if you think the other won't take it well. We can clean up discomfort, but I can't fix what I don't know. I'm good, but I ain't that good. She chuckled, playfully tapping Jared's knee. They both let out a small, nervous laugh. Jared straightened. I I don't think about my own feelings much, he admitted. I get frustrated sometimes, but then I let it go and focus on getting us back to where we need to be. Dr. Brenda arched a brow. Is this a pattern of his? She asked Amara as if she had already identified that dynamic. Amara's lips parted in surprise before she nodded. Very much so, and it drives me crazy. But, Dr. Brenda pressed, you also liked it, at least at one point. Am I wrong? Amara hesitated. No, I loved how attentive he was when we first met. It made me feel special. Dr. Brenda hummed thoughtfully, jotting down something in her plum colored journal. But as time passed, I realized he doesn't show genuine emotion unless he's prompted, and even then, he can come across awkward. Jared turned to her, frowning. You think I'm awkward? Amara sighed. Only when you're uncomfortable, but yeah, even Naya has picked up on it. Dr. Brenda's eyes flicked up from her journal. Naya is your daughter. Yes, Amara nodded. She's 14, and she's mentioned that her dad acts a little awkward when emotions are involved. Dr. Brenda let out a deep, deliberate, mmm, as she scribbled in her journal again. Jared sat up straighter. I never knew that. Dr. Brenda looked at him closely. Do emotional moments make you uncomfortable, Jared? He shifted. It's just that Amara gets really upset sometimes, and Naya is a lot like her. I don't always know how to handle those moments. Dr. Brenda set her pen down. Even after 19 years with Amara and 14 with your daughter? Jared didn't respond. He just shrugged, an almost clueless expression crossing his face. Dr. Brenda leaned back, tapping her chin with her pen. That's something we'll explore. She went on to discuss the goals of their sessions, what they hoped to gain, how progress would be measured. She reassured them that the first sessions often felt unproductive, even frustrating, and that many couples never returned after the first meeting. But, she added with a knowing smile, if you trust the process, I promise you, we can untangle the mess. And Jared, you're not weaving this tapestry alone. Amara is in this with you, and I'm here to support you both. As they left the session, they didn't speak, but something felt lighter. Not resolved, not even close, but lighter. I hated talking to him. It was like talking to a stranger. No love, no affection, barely any understanding. Amara cried as she spoke about her father. But did you feel loved? Dr. Brenda asked. I felt like he tried to make me feel loved, but it got lost in translation. Mmm, Dr. Brenda hummed in response. What about you, Jared? Did you feel loved growing up? Jared swallowed hard. His eyes darted nervously. He scratched his short afro, rubbing his hands together as if preparing to dive into the hardest conversation of his life. But all he managed was a faint, I don't know. Dr. Brenda leaned back, studying him. Her expression made it clear. She wasn't letting him off that easy. Well, what do you know? She pressed. Jared exhaled. That my parents were there, he said, nodding as if that alone should mean something. There, how? Dr. Brenda asked. Emotionally, spiritually, or just physically? Jared hesitated. I I don't know, he finally admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. Amara threw up her hands. See? Nothing. Dr. Brenda held up a hand, signaling her to stop, without taking her eyes off Jared. In that moment, he looked small, like a boy, not a grown man. Jared, she said gently, leaning forward, tell me about your childhood. She placed a firm, reassuring hand on his leg. Jared shifted uncomfortably. I had a mom and dad, siblings. There were good times and bad times. Dr. Brenda didn't let up. Tell me about the bad times. Jared's jaw tightened as he stared at the floor. He took a long, shaky breath, knowing that opening this door might change everything. His fingers fidgeted, picking at an invisible thread on his jeans. I never felt heard, he finally whispered, a tear slipping down his cheek. Amara stiffened. She had never heard him talk like this, never seen him cry except at funerals. Dr. Brenda handed him a tissue. What did you see that you wanted to talk about? She asked. Jared hesitated. Then, as if releasing a breath he'd been holding for years, he said, the abuse. Silence stretched between them. Did you blame yourself? Dr. Brenda's voice was soft, but direct. Jared squeezed his eyes shut. Yes, but every time I talked back to him, he beat her for it. His shoulders trembled. More tears fell. Dr. Brenda nodded knowingly. So, no one could speak their minds without his anger being the response. We all tiptoed around his emotions like a bomb we were afraid would go off, Jared said, his voice raw. One day, he beat her so bad, she got mad at me and told me, if you ever open your mouth again, he'll beat me worse. I felt so guilty. Amara placed a trembling hand on his back. It wasn't your fault, baby, she whispered. Dr. Brenda waited a beat before speaking. Jared, look around. You're here. You're safe. You're loved. But I need you to let go of all the pain you've been holding in. Cry, scream, do whatever you need to do, but don't bottle it up anymore. Jared inhaled sharply, his chest rising and falling with the weight of old wounds resurfacing. Then he stood and screamed. I just wanted him to stop hitting her. The pain in his voice sent shivers down Amara's spine. She watched, frozen, as Jared broke down completely, sobbing like a man who had carried a lifetime of suffering on his back. Amara rushed to him, wrapping her arms around his shaking body. He clung to her like a drowning man, gasping for air. Dr. Brenda moved behind Amara, steadying her so she could bear the weight of his grief. That night, Amara held Jared in bed, cradling him as he drifted into an exhausted sleep. She stroked his back, rocking him gently. You're safe with me, she whispered. Our childhoods affect us in relationships more than we think. Think of your childhood as an instruction manual on how to live and love. Then we go out into the world as adults, repeating those same patterns and mistakes, wondering why some of us are so messed up. Dr. Brenda, Amara, and Jared chuckled. Things were becoming easier as they got to know each other. I feel like Jared is just so closed off sometimes. I can't get anything from him. So, last session must have surprised you, Dr. Brenda asked Amara. I had never seen him so open and vulnerable. I was shocked, but I felt closer to him, she admitted, looking into Jared's eyes to acknowledge his effort. How did you feel about last session, Jared? Dr. Brenda asked, adjusting her long brown cardigan. Jared sat silently for a moment, then looked up. Embarrassed, helpless, and raw. Dr. Brenda murmured thoughtfully. Why embarrassed? Amara asked, confused. I cried like a little girl in front of my wife, he said sheepishly. Excuse me, Dr. Brenda interjected. Men cry too, not just little girls. Jared, if you want your feelings to be taken seriously, you have to consider them yourself. I'm just not used to that kind of stuff. Most men aren't, Dr. Brenda acknowledged. But when they truly feel safe enough to be vulnerable, they release those same emotions you did. I've seen many grown men cry, Jared. You're not the first, and you won't be the last. Amara leaned forward. I feel like you're numb, Jared. But last session showed your emotions, and for the first time, I felt hopeful. I just want to see more of that in our relationship. Like passion, Brenda questioned. Yes, exactly, Amara replied. Amara, do you create a safe space for Jared to express himself? I think so, Amara answered confidently. Brenda tilted her head slightly. I ask because last session he took some time getting his feelings out. But you seemed impatient. A blind man could see he was struggling emotionally, yet in that moment you only focused on your own needs. Why is that? Amara looked stunned, caught off guard. Her eyes darted around the room as if searching for an escape. I just wanted to hear him say something. Is your need to hear him more important than the time he needs to process complicated emotions? Brenda asked pointedly. Amara hesitated as if the answer was yes, but she couldn't admit it. Jared, do you feel Amara can be impatient with you? Brenda redirected. Jared swallowed hard. Yes. Amara snapped her head toward Jared, crossing her arms with a sharp huff, her expression seething. Is this a pattern? Dr. Brenda pressed. Does she get upset with you when you express your feelings? Jared exhaled heavily. Yes. The warm air Amara blew from her nostrils landed on his cheek as she glared at him. Bullshit, she spat, turning to Brenda. Wanting to hear his emotions isn't selfish or impatient. I just want to know how he feels about me. How is that wrong? Amara, take a moment to note your posture and tone, Brenda said calmly. You're very angry, and all he did was answer my question honestly. How is that creating a safe space for him? Amara clenched her jaw. Maybe we should end this, since I'm such a horrible person. That's on brand for you, Jared shot back. Brenda leaned back slightly, a glint of pride in her eyes as she listened to him stand firm. Amara's mouth dropped open in shock. Every time I express my displeasure with your attitude, you threaten to leave me. I understand you want more, but that's really nothing new, Amara. When it comes to hearing me, when have you ever been interested in that? I wanted to have more kids, but you decided one was the perfect number. I wanted to rent before buying a home, but you decided purchasing was best for a newly married couple. I wanted to invest my royalties in a beachfront property for us to vacation at, but you decided it wasn't worth the money. You say you want my opinion, but for the last 19 years you shut it down. So forgive me if I choose to reserve what little dignity I have left and keep my unwanted feelings to myself. Dr. Brenda's eyes darted between them, anticipating an explosion. Instead, Amara grabbed her coat, handed Dr. Brenda the tissue box, and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Jared moved to follow, but Dr. Brenda stopped him. Let her go. We can clean it up later. You did really good. Jared exhaled, feeling lighter but tense. He feared Amara would leave him for everything he had just said. I've been doing this for 35 years, Jared, Brenda reassured him. She's not going anywhere. The threats, they're about control. That woman loves you. She's just a little spoiled. And listen to me. Don't take back a single word you said. Stand firm, but also make it clear that none of it means you love her any less. She has things to work on, just like you do. Y'all gonna be all right. She pulled him into a warm, grounding hug before sending him on his way. 20 pounds lighter in resentment and 30 pounds heavier in confidence. For the first time in his marriage, Jared felt seen. As promised, Dr. Brenda had smoothed things over after the tense session. Amara and Jared were back on speaking terms and they had committed to monthly date nights, a small but meaningful step toward untangling the threads of their relationship. They had also agreed to individual sessions with Dr. Brenda, and today was Jared's turn. He was nervous. That big, fluffy couch and Brenda's warm, motherly tone always broke him down. He was sure he'd shed a tear or two before the session was over. Jared, the man of the hour. Dr. Brenda greeted him with her usual enthusiasm. She always had a way of making him feel proud just for showing up. Ready to get started? She asked, settling into her chair and gesturing for him to do the same. The real work began midway through the session when they started talking about the early days, the romance, the excitement, the way Amara made him feel. He loved reminiscing about those years when everything had felt so effortless despite her overbearing nature. I want you to close your eyes and go back to the first day you met Amara, Dr. Brenda instructed gently. The love of your life. What was she wearing? What did she smell like? How did it make you feel? A slow, genuine smile spread across Jared's face as he sank into the memory. She wore this purple wrap dress and these sexy blue heels. Her hair was wild, curled to the side with a gold pendant. And that scent, he inhaled as if reliving the moment. Vanilla and caramel, all at once. Her fragrance lingered on my hand, and I swear I sniffed it the whole ride home. It was intoxicating. Dr. Brenda smiled. And how did you feel about her that first day? Love at first sight? Absolutely. His response was immediate, unwavering. No doubt in my mind that she'd be the woman I loved until the end of time. How did she make you feel? She pressed. Jared hesitated, momentarily lost in the past. Like God favored me, he said finally, then let out a soft, almost embarrassed chuckle, as if the weight of that realization still surprised him. One word, Dr. Brenda encouraged. Loved. A single tear slipped from his closed eye, like I found my best friend and lover in the same moment. Dr. Brenda nodded. If the love you had for Amara was a song, what song would it be? Jared's smile grew even bigger. Brian McKnight's The Rest of My Life. When he finally opened his eyes, Dr. Brenda was watching him with that familiar, proud mama bear smile. She had recorded the moment and turned the screen toward him. Look at this, she said. Watch the way your face changes when you talk about her. Jared stared at himself on the screen, seeing the raw emotion reflected back at him. That's the passion she wants to see, Dr. Brenda told him, patting his back in reassurance. Your emotional responses aren't broken, Jared. They're just fractured. Jared swallowed hard. I'm learning that. Dr. Brenda nodded. I encourage you to visit this place more often. I know your trauma has taught you to shove your feelings into a box, especially when you feel they aren't being received, but your feelings matter, Jared. You matter. He exhaled, nodding slowly. I hear you. Amara needs to feel what I felt watching you talk about her, Dr. Brenda said. I have so much hope for you, too. Jared let her words settle over him. I'll see you next session, she said warmly, walking him to the door. He gave her a small, grateful nod before stepping out, already thinking about next steps. Jared didn't hesitate. As soon as he left Dr. Brenda's office, he was on a mission. He stopped by the florist, his heart pounding with anticipation. He knew exactly what to get. Amara's favorite flower, the one she always kept on the kitchen counter before things started to unravel, the ones he hadn't seen in the house for far too long. With the bouquet in hand, he drove home, his fingers drumming against the steering wheel as he replayed their conversation in his head. The way Dr. Brenda had made him relive their first meeting, the way his heart ached with longing. If there was ever a time to remind Amara of who they used to be, who they could still be, it was now. When he walked through the door, Amara was in the living room, curled up on the couch with a book. She looked up, surprised as he stepped inside, flowers in one hand, his phone in the other. Jared? She asked, her brow furrowed in curiosity. Without a word, he placed the flowers on the coffee table and queued up the song on his phone. The first notes of The Rest of My Life by Brian McKnight filled the room. He ripped the head of one of the flowers out of the bouquet, placed it in her hair as he asked her to dance with me. He murmured, his voice thick with emotion. Amara hesitated, her eyes searching his. There was something different about him, something softer, something raw. He pulled her close, his arms wrapping around her as they swayed to the music. His lips brushed against her temple as he whispered the lyrics, his voice unsteady with feeling. Amara's breath hitched. She clung to him as if letting go would mean losing the moment. Her fingers traced the back of his neck, something she used to do when they danced in the kitchen on Sunday mornings, back when their love was effortless. As the song played, their foreheads pressed together, the distance between them closing. Tears welled in Amara's eyes, but she didn't fight them. When the final notes faded, Jared cupped her face, his thumb gently brushing away a stray tear. "I miss us, Amara," he admitted, his voice filled with the passion she had been longing for. She exhaled shakily, her hands resting against his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heart. "I think I like this tapestry better than the old one," she whispered, her lips curving into a small smile. Jared's breath caught. Hope surged through him like a wildfire. Without another word, he captured her lips in a deep kiss, one filled with unspoken promises, apologies, and longing. Amara melted into him, her arms wrapping around his neck as she pulled him even closer. Neither of them spoke as he lifted her into his arms and carried her toward the bedroom. Tonight, they would weave something new, something stronger, something lasting. Tonight, they would rewrite their love story.
Back, but I can't. I wanna leave you behind, but I can't. It's not easy to love you, darling. It's not easy to love you, darling. I should love you in the moment. I should tell you all the problems. It's not easy to love you, baby. It's not easy to love you, baby. It's not easy to love you, baby. You just run, you don't talking.